Welcome to the Pause Rewind Play podcast. We're so glad to have you in the house again, back in Vince's house to be exact. We got Josh.
What's up?
We got Vince.
Hello, hello.
In his own house.
Yep, I'm here. I'm always here.
But we're back for another fun episode of the Pause Rewind Play podcast. Sorry, pardon the interruption type thing. Just life happens. We get busy, and I live vastly too far away.
We keep pushing it back. It's like our goal at first is like once a week, and then it's like, oh, just like once every couple weeks, once a month, once every 2 months,
once a quarter. You guys are only getting 4 episodes a year going on now. No, that's not the plan.
So enjoy them.
So enjoy, even if they're
that
crap.
puts more pressure on us too, though. We got to perform.
True.
Oh, I'm not a performer though. Like, this is not my thing. I'm not very performative. I'm not good at showing up and then being like, action, and I'm like, banana.
Dead air, dead air.
B.A.
A yellow fruit.
Also a pudding. A very delicious pudding.
Do you know the reference for that?
No, I don't.
So this is something I learned from Josh's family. I'd never watched the series before, and I show up, and there's pineapples like all over Josh's like.
Oh, it's got to be a psych thing.
It's a psych thing. Josh loves psych, right? That's your thing. That's your series.
I haven't seen Psych for a long time. I watched it all when I was
I know
younger.
a quote.
All right, I'm ready.
I've been incarcerated in a blueberry. Isn't that a thing?
Yes.
So yeah, I don't even know that.
I used to watch Psych all the time and stuff, and a lot of people around here really like Psych because they had a whole, when they did Psych the movie and whatever, there was, hey, we're going to have, screenings before it actually comes out in New York, LA, and where else. And
in Utah.
Somehow enough people voted that Salt Lake City was the other one, so we went to that, and
Fun.
I don't know. So all of my family, we've kind of really watched Psych. Again, I haven't watched it in years.
I have
But
only
my
watched it
sister-
with these guys
My younger sister, she watches on repeat all the time.
religiously, to be exact. She's a
That's
huge
awesome.
fan of that and Chica Nueva, New Girl. So it's
She watches it in Spanish.
See, see. I can't imagine Jess's voice in Spanish though, or Nick's. Anyhow, we should talk about what we've been watching really quickly. Give me
Yeah.
one thing you've been watching and 3 reasons why it was good really fast.
One.
One.
Okay.
Or do it all within a couple minutes.
All right. I'm going to be fast. I have 3 things in a
Yep.
couple minutes.
Okay.
First, I'm rewatching The Haunting of Hill House, and it is so good. I remembered I loved it, but rewatching it, every episode is incredible. And I just watched the 2 Storms episode where it's basically 6 different one-shots that are each like 10 minutes each. It's so good. Haunting of Hill House is
I loved that show.
worth the rewatch. Definitely.
He's got a couple of shows out that I haven't caught up on now. The writer, director too? I can't remember.
Isn't
the
it-
showrunner?
Don't they have a new one that's coming out
Yeah,
too? The
and
Fall
it
of the
looks-
House of Usher?
Yeah, it looks good.
It looks good.
Based on like Edgar Allan Poe thing.
Yes.
I didn't
think
watch
so.
the one he came out with last year, but also Midnight Mass. If you haven't watched
Midnight Mass is so
Spooky season's coming up. It's worth watching.
coming up. Vince,
Oh, we're in it?
have you seen my letterbox?
You are in all black.
This was an accident, but mid-August was when my spooky season, as far as movies at least,
I was
started.
like September 1st.
Oh no, September. I think 2nd or 3rd. I put up Halloween decorations outside my house and,
That's what we
and
do.
lights and everything. It's spooky season.
I usually wait till
already.
October, so I'm
That's
2 weeks
fair.
away before I'll dive right in.
Me and Allie, we're enthusiasts. So
They are.
I get it.
Number
Let's,
2.
all right, I'll be fast with these ones, I promise. So I watched Coraline for the first time.
What?
Which
The
I
first
hadn't
time?
seen before. Surprising.
Wow.
And it was really good. I had a friend who was like, hey, it's all right, temper expectations. So luckily I did. And it wasn't like, this is the best movie ever. But I was so enthralled in the world. And it's so cool the stuff that they can do with that animation, claymation stuff, with what they could do visually even, not even just story-wise. It was very cool, very visually
And kind of creepy
enthralling
too.
as well, and kind of creepy as well. Exactly. So spooky. And then I saw Bottoms, the new movie that came out.
I've been wanting to go to that so bad, but I haven't found a night to do it.
It's good. I'm not
good?
gonna lie. I thought that maybe because I went on a Tuesday night and I came up here to Megaplex and I was like, I know Vince likes to go to the theater on Tuesdays. Maybe I'll run into him. So
There was a good chance because
That you're
I
probably
was
somewhere.
looking at it on Tuesday, but I had a dog over, so I couldn't get out of the house. But
Oh.
I literally was looking at a time to go on Tuesday night, and then Sunday too. But neither of the dates worked.
dude, it was great. I haven't yet, but I want to rewatch Bodies because Rachel Sennott is one of the 2 main leading actresses in this one, and she was incredible. And the other one is Ayo Edebiri from The Bear. And she is it is hilarious. It is so funny. Something about the end for me, I didn't like love the end. Other people, I haven't seen anyone else say that, so maybe it was just a me thing. But it is hilarious. So good. I would
Describe
definitely
the premise
say to
of
check.
that movie.
The premise of that movie is these two lesbian best friends. They're both lesbian, but they're just best friends. They decide to start a fight club so that they can impress and meet these girls in high school that they want to like hang out with and get to know better, you know? So it is absolutely hilarious. Marshawn Lynch, I'd seen a trailer forever ago, and so I knew he was in it. But then when he appeared on screen, I was like, what the heck is Marshawn Lynch doing here? He was great too. The whole cast was absolutely amazing.
Awesome.
And like I said, it's
That's good to hear.
hilarious. So I won't say anything else to spoil it. And I'll stop because I think I already went over the 3 minutes I said I would take. But
3.5, everyone. 3.5. No, it's all good, man. That's
I'm done.
cool.
I'm done.
I think your list
That's
is
awesome.
good. And I definitely, after you posted Bottoms, I was like, what is this? Because I was thinking something completely different. And I was like, cool. So
It looks great. I want to see it.
It's
real
worth the
bad.
watch.
it's worth the watch. Well, Vince, what have you been watching lately?
A lot of stuff, but I want to talk about Ahsoka. You guys watching Ahsoka?
No.
I'm
Either of
like
ya?
4 Star Wars shows behind Vince.
Oh yeah. You still need to watch Andor, right?
Yes.
Watch Andor. If you're gonna watch any of them, watch
I was
Andor.
going to say, I've heard Andor is one of the best.
Ahsoka is good. It's not great, but this is my big problem with it. Is it feels
About to get canceled by Star Wars people
know.
on TikTok.
I love. There's always something good out of everything Star Wars that comes out. But lately, and kind of forever, if you really think about it, since at least after the original trilogy, depending on how you talk to, of course, Star Wars ebbs and flows. You know, there's some great stuff, and then there's some not good stuff at all. And Ahsoka is kind of right in there somewhere, where it's not my favorite, it's not the best, but I absolutely love Ahsoka, so I'm in for the ride. And the last episode last week was just absolutely fantastic. First 4 episodes, I'm like, this is good. I'm having fun, but this is no like Andor or whatever, you know. It really gets into like the Clone Wars and the Rebel stuff and all this like lore that I have absolutely drowned myself into over the years. That just kind of feels a little bit off when it gets translated to live action. You know, it's kind of weird to see people painted in green and with like fake things on their head, and it kind of, at times, it kind of feels like cosplay, and it kind of feels like cheap, you know, but at the same time really expensive. I don't know. It's kind of like, it's weird. It ebbs and flows depending on the moment for me. But overall, it's been really good. Dave Filoni, the guy who created Ahsoka, wrote and kind of is running the show. I think he directed 2 episodes, and it's great. They've introduced some awesome characters. There's these new Dark Jedi that I'm just so interested in, like Ray Fiennes, I think his name is. Is that the dude's
Ralph
name?
Fiennes?
Ralph Fiennes, I
Who
think.
played Voldemort?
Yeah. Voldemort?
Nope.
Oh.
Sorry, it's Ray something. Anyway, he just passed away, and the guy's a powerhouse. Like, he's such a good actor. Dark Jedi, Ahsoka. This guy, you recognize him? What is his name? I can't think of his name. Anyway, he's absolutely great in it. And
He's not a typical Sith, according to what I'm reading. So I'm
no,
excited now.
He's kind of been described as the first real Dark Jedi. Like, he's not a Sith. He's very respectful. Like, he has to fight Ahsoka, but he doesn't take like he's not happy to do it. Like, he gets told that he needs to kill her, but he's just like, what a shame, she's a great Jedi, kind of a thing, you know. Like, he's very, and he fights like a knight, like a literal like Dark Ages knight. And so it's really cool, like the juxtaposition between Ahsoka and him, like doing these lightsaber duels, because like Ahsoka is like straight samurai and he's like a knight. So I don't know, the space battles are good. I'm nerding out like crazy here.
Good.
Apparently, I like it more than I let on before, you know.
I was like expecting you to bash. So you're like, but this
No.
and this, knights,
There's-
samurais, good, yeah.
There's nothing that I really want to bash on it, other than it just sometimes feels like cosplay a little bit. Just through like some of the costuming and how they're dressing the characters exactly the same as the cartoons, but overall it's fantastic. Like, I mean, it's good. It's something I'm really enjoying, and I want to see how it turns out in the end. Like, for sure, I'm on the ride here.
10 out of 10. Check out Ahsoka. I'm
Not 10
like
out of
sold.
10, but like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, I'd say. Probably.
Whoa.
So far, anyway, we'll see how it wraps up.
Still would recommend to a friend though.
Yeah, for sure.
Casey.
Really quickly, we watched What We Do in the Shadows. We're on watching, I think it's season 3 of Only Murders in the Building, which is a ton of fun. I love that series. And then I rewatched Alita Battle Angel again.
Again? This is like the third time in a month.
Pretty much. It's the safe bet. And
You
then
know he's trying to get that Alita 2 sequel.
Dude,
Yeah, he's
I'm waiting for it, guys. Like
getting
it's my jam. And then I've rewatched kind of a cheesier show called Brooklyn. Saoirse Ronan was in it. It's kind of like a coming to America type film with kind of the challenges of that. It's an independent film from a few. I think it's actually a Fox Searchlight film. Actually, I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Because and I have watched Barbie since its release, like last Thursday or whenever it came out. We've watched it 5 times since then. And I am not sick of Barbie yet. I have to say that. So
you just singing along with Ken's song.
I actually
He knows the dance moves.
I
You
know.
think they'll do that at the Oscars this year?
Oh, 100%.
That'd
I
be
hope
so
they
fun.
do.
I
'cause-
mean, maybe. Because usually they have each of the nominated songs play. And sometimes they'll do another one. But usually they already feel like they're running long. And so they try to cut out whatever they can. And
Yeah.
even though I would love it, I don't think they would cut one of the Oscar-nominated songs for I'm Just Ken, which I
You
apologize.
don't think it's gonna get Oscar nominated?
I'm Just Ken? I don't know. I don't think
I-
so. I think that they would nominate What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish
That
before they would
one.
nominate I'm Just Ken.
But,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of spots there to fill, and
There's
I'm Just Ken
5.
was real good.
I guess we'll see. This is my early prediction is that I'm Just Ken doesn't make it.
Okay, yeah. Well, there's the bet right here.
All
I
right,
think it's
noting
gonna be
it
there.
stated on the 18th of September. Josh is saying no to I'm Just Ken.
I'm
dare
saying
you.
yes to What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish because I absolutely adore that song.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, it's good.
Side note, real quick, it was Ray Stevenson is his name.
Ray
There you
Stevenson.
go.
R.I.P. The guy's amazing.
I want to watch it just by looking at that photo. By the
Right.
way, like put that up on
Yeah,
the
I
screen
think you'd like
because
this. I think you'd like it, but you need to catch up on some Rebels before you jump into this.
I need to catch up on a lot of life.
And we can
guys.
give one more. He gave you his Star Wars recommendation. I have my spooky season recommendation, which I think
Yes.
Vince would also back up. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but should be available to rent. Check out Talk to Me.
I've
for
been
your-
watching. I think that a DVD release is like beginning of October. I think it's like the 12th. I want to say because I think I'm gonna buy it.
Dude,
Especially, I'll buy it if they release a A24 limited collector's edition like the one I got in the mail.
like the hand.
Yeah,
and-
I'll pay $45 for that one.
That's definitely a good one to have. I'm saying, check it out. Talk to Me if you guys. We already mentioned it before on the podcast a little bit, but Talk to Me is a super good watch, especially if you're into the spooky season vibes.
Is
the
this
horror
the
films.
movie you sent us? Like that you got stuff Lamb? Was that the movie you got
Yeah.
the other day? So is it good?
I still haven't watched it.
Oh well, never mind.
I don't know
then.
if I'm gonna open it. Like I might just watch it on streaming, keep it in its
In
packaging. Because
collectors.
just so everybody knows, I signed up for the A24 subscription club thing, and for your birthday they send you out a free present, and you get to choose out of like 6 different things, and the collector's edition of Lamb from A24 was on that. So I was like, oh, I want to see that, and that looks good. So I grabbed that, sitting on my shelf upstairs. So I haven't opened it.
You're like, it's too nice.
Yeah,
it's
it
too
looks
pretty.
really good. But it did make me want to buy like a couple other ones that they have available.
Thing is,
But it's so much money.
That's
the
so much to
A24
watch.
stuff is all expensive, but I love it. Like, you guys
That's-
have seen my hat. I have like running shorts.
Don't you have
When
a
they-
shirt or a hoodie? Too?
I do. I have
Oh.
like a hoodie.
Do you have
like,
a full
that
sweat
I
kit
have.
yet that you could wear? Like you could show up like A24.
I probably could
That's- yeah.
all the way. Shorts, sweatshirt, and hat.
I think they got socks
I've
now
got
too.
all of them, and they send it in nice packaging. Like they sent some of the stuff in these like Ziploc bags with these big A24 logos, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna use this for, but I want to keep this bag. Like,
Yeah.
it's so nice.
The receipt that it came in, like the order form or whatever, came in this nice like rectangular like ticket. It almost
Yes.
looked like pulling
Like a ticket
out of
envelope.
Yeah,
The
so
same.
that's still sitting in my desk
I like
upstairs.
it.
'Cause I'm like, this is too cool to throw away.
I
It's
have mine too.
black. It's like monochromatic black with the A24 and a
Being
lighter
like shiny,
shade.
yeah.
So this is everything I love about, like, just to be super honest with you, branding and fulfillment, and the way that you can create such a unique out of box
Yeah.
experience when that box arrives to your door. Like, sorry guys, this is going into my work stuff that I love so much.
Oh, but
like,
it's true. That's
people,
why I'm so into
people
it.
should literally like open this up and be like, whoa, like what you've talked about is that should be the experience that every e-commerce company should strive for, unless you're like, oh, I just have a cheap product. But like this A24 thing, and we've long loved A24 films. Like you love
We have a whole
A24.
episode about our favorite A24 movies.
Yeah, but like the thing is A24 is like going from like product to product to product, and I feel like they're winning and understanding the getting their physical product into your house, because that's where they make a lot of money, is that kind of stuff. But like now
They're
I want to buy
literally
something.
the only like movie brand that I feel some sort of like connection to. Like Fox Searchlight releases something, I'm like, all right, whatever.
Like when that A24 flashes across the screen, you know, Fox or Warner, you're like, okay, this could be whatever. But when that A24 flashes across the screen, you say, okay, we're in for something.
Yeah. Anyway, we should probably get to a movie.
No, it's totally fair. Totally fair. Yeah, no, A24 branding is on point. Anyhow, I watched this movie a while ago, and it actually put me off from like actually going on to like vacation rental sites, like any of those. I'm not gonna specifically name one, but you know, like where you.
Have you seen Barbarian yet?
No.
I can't watch this.
I
'cause
just
this is an
rewatched
Airbnb
Barbarian.
movie. I can't watch this and not like compare it to.
So I haven't
You
watched
know, this one was first, though, technically.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it. But this is the rental. It came out in 2020, and it was Dave Franco's directorial debut. Vince, do you got some of the facts on that?
Just the basics.
Cool.
Like you said, Dave Franco directed it, written by Joe Swanberg. Dave Franco, Joe Swanberg. I knew
Alison
that
Brie.
Alison Brie was in this.
Yeah.
And that's why it was on my Netflix list for the past apparently 3 years, because this came out in 2020.
Yep.
Hit play on it, and I was like, oh, dude, guy from Legion, awesome. Oh, dude, the guy from The Bear, awesome. I got really excited to watch this movie. And then Letterboxd. The Letterboxd review it's kind of mid. It got a 2.7 out of 5.
Yeah.
Which I gave it a 3, so I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah.
It was a movie I enjoyed, but I wasn't like floored by it.
Mm-hmm. I gave it 3.5 stars, I'm pretty sure, on Letterboxd. The first time I watched it and this time when I rewatched it. Because I had.
refer it to you before, too?
I don't remember. It's possible. You know, I like to watch a lot of spooky movies.
You do.
Trying to find a lot. So I don't remember if it was that or it's definitely possible you guys referred it to me because I love your guys' referrals because I try to watch. What is it? Why do so many horror movies
The
start
Green
with the-
Inferno?
No, not the Green Inferno.
Have you watched that
the
one?
hiking
Cannibal
one.
one?
It's amazing.
Oh, The Ritual.
The Ritual.
Oh,
I love
yes.
The Ritual. That one I try to watch, and that was one that you guys recommended to me. So.
We freaking love it.
And then I saw the other day it was like the 6 or 7 year anniversary of Mother.
Mother?
Of
Have
Mother.
you watched
And
Mother?
we
No,
saw
that's what I
that.
haven't done.
Oh, man.
But yeah,
No.
I love this movie. So I
This
I
movie-
enjoyed rewatching it. Yeah,
Okay.
3.5 stars. If you, I don't.
You enjoyed rewatching this one? It's your second time?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
You guys have both seen it twice.
I've watched this movie 3 times, actually.
Okay, this is my first time through it, so I did not know what to expect. Didn't watch the trailer, just knew that Brie Larson was in it, hit play, and was along for the ride. I didn't know if it was going to be, like, with the start of it, how it started rolling into where they were going. I didn't know if it was going to be a supernatural thing or a home invasion thing.
Mhm.
And very quickly realized it was going to be a home invasion thing, you know, but I was surprised at how long it kind of took to get to the actual home invasion stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little bit of a slow burn, which I didn't mind because it's it almost felt like more of a drama than a horror movie until about the last, 30 minutes? So it's like an hour of just, couples drama, and then it jumps into it.
Yeah.
But there's always, I always felt there's a sense of dread through the whole thing, and I just kept expecting something more, scary to happen, and it just never really does until it gets to a certain point, and then it kind of jumps into it.
I feel like this is a good movie of like build up, and the music kind of for me at least kind of played part as it goes along, that there's something not quite right about something, and you kind of feel that, right? But I think that when and for a lot of people, maybe it was long, and maybe you're going to be like, it was too long in this way, but I liked it when it clicked. And so I thought about it like when you're getting a match to strike it kind of thing. You're putting it and you're just the idea is that the match actually ignites at the end of the box, right? That's built in a friction.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was what this movie was. It
kind of building up until it really
ignited. And that's how I felt about it. And that's why I wanted to recommend it, because I was like, 1, it's got Brie Larson. 2, it's
Alison
got
Brie.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I think
a
somebody
community
could,
truther.
Yeah, Alison
I have
Brie.
to correct us.
Gosh dang it. Now everyone on the internet's going to hate
Isn't her
me.
name Alison Brie Larson?
Alison Brie Larson.
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it's got Alison Brie. And then it's also got Jeremy Allen White, who is, in my eyes, becoming one of the big pivotal actors going forward. And so I was like,
Yes.
cool, relevant there. And I had forgotten that he was actually in it until we watched it this time. And I was like,
I did too.
oh, so it was hype for me. So yeah, that was kind of how I felt about it. Josh, how was rewatching it for you, and kind of what are your thoughts on it?
It was good. I almost felt like it was a little bit of the opposite. So I definitely didn't think it was too long because
Yeah,
it's only like 90, 93 minutes or something like that. Honestly, if anything, I feel like it could have been longer.
Okay.
Because in going on to, I found a new, I don't go on Reddit a lot, but I found a new like subreddit, just like horror films or something like that, where people talk about new horror films, and it's basically just people will, it's like a different way because you can look at Rotten Tomatoes, you can look at Letterboxd, see, hey, is this like a good movie? Should I watch it? And it's just basically a subreddit where they do a poll of like, go see it in theaters, or, oh, pay like a few bucks to rent it when it comes out. Oh, just wait for streaming, stuff like that. And so I was looking on Reddit and a few things, and a lot of people kind of felt the same way, where a lot of it was the ending. That was what kind of shortchanged this movie. And I felt the same way so this movie is really interesting, and I put this in my Letterboxd review that I just did, where they really try to kind of mesh a couple of horror/thriller genres, right? You have like the home invasion type, serial killer type of deal, and you also have the more of a psychological thriller of stuff between spouses, drama type of stuff like that. And they really try to mesh that. And it's an interesting idea to be able to mesh those two things. It doesn't mesh super well. Because you have, I liked the premise and the build up and this whole, I mean, we're in spoiler territory.
This movie's 3 years old, so
yeah, I was
we
gonna
can
say,
spoil it up.
We're in spoilers. You start it, and they already from the very beginning kind of clue you into the relationship drama that's going to happen. They start the very beginning with them looking at the thing. Oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. Other guy comes in, kisses, and it's like, wait, what just freaking happened? And then you're like, oh, okay, there. And they mention it a few times when they're walking on the beach, and Allison Brie and Jeremy Allen White are talking.
And the way
they're
that
like,
they're
yeah,
talking
it's
in the
weird.
bed, like when he's talking about her, he's like, yeah, he hit the jackpot and stuff.
Yeah,
I
and
was
you're like,
this is
yeah,
kind of
what?
weird.
There's so many little things that it's like one of those relationships where like, no, like it's just one of those, we can be friends and we're business partners and we're just really good friends and stuff. And you're like, no, it's not. Like that can't happen, but you're just like, this is too obvious. It's not happening. And
They effectively set up the tension to be there throughout the whole premise. And then there's a point in which Allison Brie, right?
Her name is
Yes.
Michelle.
Thank you. And Jeremy Allen White's character, which I forget
His
now.
name is
I don't
Josh.
remember.
Josh. Michelle
Oh.
and Josh, they're on a hike, and actually, like, Josh brings up to Michelle, like, kind of some of her husbands or significant others, like, past dating history and how he, like, kind of, like, leaves people trailing.
He overlaps a little bit.
Overlaps a little. Yeah, that's a good way.
Cheats on
Also,
them before you.
do you guys want to know something about the lead guy, Dan, who's Charlie?
Mm-hmm.
He's in a lot of things. I think you said Legion, right?
Yeah, he's so good in Legion.
But
I've only seen him in that and Beauty and the Beast, and I don't count Beauty and the Beast because he's a
I've never watched
Giant
Beauty and the Beast.
CGI beast.
But he's
is that him?
he's in
pretty sure.
Euro song, like the
Eurovision?
the Eurovision movie. He's the one that's
He
I'm a
is.
lion lover. That guy, like that's him. And I thought it was funny since like he was the Beast.
I forgot about that.
I can never forget about that show. Like
I'm double checking that he was
Yeah.
in what?
In Beauty and the Beast, he
I'm
was the
pretty
Yeah,
sure
he's the
was.
Beast.
He
That
was
makes
right?
sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
I only saw it once, and obviously
And he's
CGI
the new
beast, so
voice
yeah.
for Corvo as well in Solar Opposites, by the way.
That's
with the
him, too?
departure of so they had to switch it out because of what happened.
Right,
with
right.
drama
Now
with
the
what's his
British
name.
guy.
And now that's him. That's who
him.
he is. So it's very funny because they
all
they
over the
play it in
place.
so well. But no, I think what's really interesting is them setting up and showing the drama because so much of this film is the internal conflict of so much like of life, society. Because he talks about his brother being like a up the whole like a mess up the whole entire time. Like he dropped out of college, he fights people, like he's a glorified Lyft driver or something like that, right? Is what he references. And then like the conflict between kind of spouses and kind of like all of it, how it's all kind of bubbling up, and then they're going to a secluded place. Like, what do they think they're setting up so effectively? And I liked it. Also, this poster is like one of my favorites.
Is a very
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off on a tangent there.
No.
This is something I want to talk about later because we'll
Cool.
Yeah.
we'll
Well, yeah,
get to it.
but I really
Just said
enjoyed
something.
this movie, and I agree that like the meshing was probably a little bit weird, but I loved.
But all those things that you just described are the things that I really liked about it. Like it's
Yeah.
the perfect setting for a thriller horror movie, and being the first people to take advantage of the Airbnb concept. Like, it really is. Airbnb is kind of a ridiculous concept. You're putting your entire life, your entire family in the trust of some stranger and moving into their house, you know? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of creepy.
I have
Kind of weird.
I have an Airbnb scheduled in the middle of nowhere for December, and I'm
Maybe
terrified.
maybe don't watch Barbarian
Yeah,
then.
I wish you'd seen Barbarian, because I'd ask you what you're more scared of,
Well-
this guy or the thing, the finale of Barbarian.
Well, no, like, but think about it. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about another horror film. When I bring this up, right, like, I was like,
Talk about all the horror films.
I was
Casey.
like, crap, you know, like, we have this thing. And then, like, last night, as I'm, like, thinking about this movie, how we have a vacation rental coming up for the middle of winter, like December, right? And then I thought about Strangers.
oh,
Strangers?
dude, that movie messed me up.
That
That was another
movie
one I
is-
came over to your house and watched.
Yes, that movie messes with you. And I'm like, suddenly, like, my mind is, like, racing through every scenario
could happen?
possible. And then I'm like, whatever. Like, literally, that's how I would say, I was like, whatever. But it's like, home invasion, like, the whole thought and idea of, like, breaching the comfort zone. When you're talking about this Airbnb thing, right? Like, you're, like, settling in, like you said, to someone else's space, someone else's comfort, someone else's design. And sometimes there's weird energy in the space already. Or there's, like, a door that goes into a closet, and there's a secondary door behind it. And you're like, yeah, no, just closing this, and you put a chair in front of it, and you just move on with your experience. But, like, the
I looked at the
Airbnb
camera for that one,
concept
too.
is so... What?
Nothing.
Did you say you looked at the camera for this?
Sorry, Vince and I shared a look, and I
We had a
also shared
moment.
it with our audience.
See, you're remembering the fourth wall here, and I'm over here like, but you know, it's just kind of like an exciting thing to me, and so yeah, totally. Like, I get what you're saying. It's untapped.
The reason that the third act of this one kind of fell short to me, and why I said maybe honestly it would be even longer, is it did kind of take a while to mesh the two, and like I said, maybe it didn't mesh super great, but I felt like the killer, because obviously you're kind of from the beginning, even though he's like a weird jerk dude, you're kind of expecting, you know, this guy who runs Airbnb, at least, I mean, maybe not everyone, but I remember the first time I was watching it, it's like, it's too obvious that this guy is like, oh yeah, they're setting him up to be, which he is like a total jerkwad.
Oh, yeah,
in a way. Like, while I'm watching this, I was like,
He had
dude,
one
screw
redeeming
this
moment where he's
guy.
just like, it's cool that you brought your dogs. I got two at home. My brother's
True.
he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, he has that one moment.
But
Well,
besides
and that is the moment where he's about to die, so they give him that like one little bit of like, oh no, this guy isn't as bad as you thought, even though he is kind of an asshole and he's racist a little bit.
Definitely.
But he's not the killer. You know?
Yeah. So like
Or
right
the
before
voyeur.
that, so you kind of know it's not going to be him, and so you're like, who is it going to be? Is it one of these guys doing
Did
something?
you have a guess on who it
or-
was going to be before you get into it?
I don't remember what I thought the first time.
Because they mentioned the past girlfriend, and I kept trying to figure out, because this is what I do in these kind of movies. I try to figure it out, right? I kept trying to figure out who this end person is going to be, and the fact that he was in it so little, and I knew it wasn't going to be the owner, I was like, it has to be someone they referenced. So I was like, the only thing I could think of was the ex-girlfriend that dated
Right.
Legion before Annie.
Corvo. I'm Corvo. This is my voice now.
Like, that's the
Oh my
only person I could
gosh.
think of that would be like wanting to do them harm. You know, they hadn't established anybody else except for the owner.
Well,
And that was my big problem, I think, with it, is like there was no real
There's no real
motivation for this killer until the very, very end of the movie, where they show the motivation, like literally at the end, which is fine. Like, it worked out, but I was just getting so frustrated. Like, what is this going to be?
Yeah, you just feel so unattached to, and it's not like, I'm not saying, oh, you have to feel attached to these serial killers in these horror movies you watch, but it's just this guy, and, you know, later on he takes off what's a mask, but it just looks like some old mangled guy at first, and you're just like, okay, like, this guy is just creepy and killing them, and there doesn't feel, that was a lot of where the separation came for me in the third act, was this, all this stuff is happening, and it turns into a slasher type of thing, right? Oh no, he's hunting them down one by one and killing them, and that part was really, number one, rushed. Like, it felt really fast, and there didn't feel like a lot of motivation behind it. It felt like we were doing Friday the 13th or something like that
Oh, very much a
at
Halloween
the
vibe.
end, but with no motivation, and we're like, oh, okay, and these other storylines, like, you know, obviously the people are dying, so they're not really going to get wrapped up, but it's like the things kind of came to a head with the relationship stuff, with people finding out and him messing with them, which, like, it was interesting the way that he, like, this guy obviously kind of, you know, he obviously enjoys it, gets off on it, whatever, that he enjoys going to these Airbnbs and messing with people and then killing them or whatever, right? And so the fact that he was able to play with their emotions from wherever, what was he, upstairs or something? I forget.
That's where his router was,
router.
but he was just wandering.
Just
Like at one point, he
wandering.
followed him into the hike, and another point he was out in the
Yeah.
forest. Like I think he was just watching from a
I
distance.
did like
kind of
those
thing.
scenes. There were the great shots of like the someone's watching scenes, right?
Mhm.
Like the hike, and there were the other ones where they're somewhere, and it just did one of those far back shots, and so you're like, oh, someone's watching them and stuff like that. There was gorgeous cinematography. There was great acting, and like I said, it was still a great movie. I gave it 3.5 stars, which is my like. This movie was definitely solid. Yes, I have my qualms, but I enjoyed it.
Well, I think kind of looking at that, and I kind of like, I don't know, it was something that I wanted to step into weirdly, like the space of something bad's gonna happen and it's gonna be like Halloween or some sort of slasher, because like I like how they use the the tech for like it's a vacation rental that they did off of like an app, right, type thing on the internet, and then two, like this guy has like set up all these like wireless cameras, like they're talking about, they're tech people talking kind of in relevant terms today, and then you're out there and then they're like, well, my phone's dead or my phone's dying, like they're talking about actual stuff that we go through, and then just kind of the push, right, this is the push, I'm gonna push him, and the brutal parts of this are just mostly like, I liked the end and the rush of it, to be honest with you, because I felt, and sorry I jumped a little bit here,
You're good.
I like the end and the jump of it and the rush of it, because I kind of felt like that's how things go and they kind of fall off the rails. Is like when something stumbles, it all goes at once. And so, right, like he gets the Toby or whoever the guy's name is, who's the vacation rental guy, he comes over. Hey, what's this? Like gets confronted. All of a sudden in comes brother who's, notoriously sucky.
It's so weird to see Jeremy Allen White like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially after seeing him in The Bear. Yeah, in The Bear, he goes through a lot of stuff, and he can be intense, but just to see BMC so, not mindlessly, but kind of mindlessly aggressive was a little interesting.
I thought it was crazy. And then, like, what is kind of, like, kind of the dominoes falling after that. I liked that speed of it, so.
I agree with you. I think so. This is one of the. I actually pulled up IMDb, and like one of the first. There's like a big box right here that made me like actually think about the question. It posted unlikable characters detract from a solid movie.
Yeah.
And I read that and I was just like, did I not like these characters? I mean, I didn't. I did like them, and I think it did a good job at like pulling you into this moment in their life, this moment in time when things was kind of falling apart, And I actually liked the drama of it all. I really liked Michelle. She was the one person in there that was kind of not immediately on board. She was kind of like the I don't want to say good person.
The
'cause they're
voice
all
of
good.
reason.
The voice of reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I really liked her. And when she died, I mean, it was probably because it was Alison Brie. She's an amazing actress, and she was the voice of reason and the good person. So when she died, I was just like, oh man, she's the first one to go. Shoot. But the rest of them, I did kind of feel like satisfied when they died, because they all were kind of crappy people at that point. They all did some bad things,
Yeah.
including her. Like she said, laying in bed, like, I didn't call the police, so I'm as guilty as everyone else.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to the point of the killer, where you're trying to figure out like why the killer is doing these things, and it doesn't really explain it very well. It does have the montage at the end where it, like you said, just like it's kind of open, like maybe he just gets off on this and he just wants to kill people, and this is the best thing he does.
Yeah.
It just explains how he does it. It doesn't really ever give any motivation.
But I was kind of in my spare time at work, I didn't have a lot of time today to kind of like jump into like the interviews with the actors and the director and stuff. But there was one that I listened to with Dave Franco, and they were talking to him a little bit about potential sequel stuff and what this guy was actually doing there. And I should have paid attention to it more, but he said something along the lines of that this guy is kind of like this Jigsaw in Saw, where he watches people and he kind of is like the punishment for bad people. So he sets up in these Airbnbs, and as long as you're a good person, he'll leave you alone. But as soon as you do all these bad things, that it's fair game and he's allowed to kill you, kind of a thing. I don't like that. I like the idea of him just being this like Airbnb invader that just like wants to go around and kill people.
I almost like that more though.
Do you?
I don't know if I like it more. I didn't think about that because I should have, because it shows him setting up in that one Airbnb, and then it shows multiple people going through, and then all
And
of a
wouldn't that
sudden there's
be-
one, and pff,
And wouldn't that be the reason that you don't like these people is because they're not set up to be likable characters? Like if that was more explained a little bit better that that's what this guy was doing, like that would make sense that you don't like these characters because they're not established to be really likable characters. They're all bad people in the end.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed. I definitely enjoyed, because we say, oh, bad people are not bad
Yeah,
people.
bad
I
people.
definitely enjoyed seeing that, like, the relationships between each of the characters, because it's such an interesting dynamic. That's where and again, I love horror movies, and I did end up liking, even if it was a little rushed in my own opinion, the thriller slasher part at the end. But the drama dynamic that the beginning did have was so interesting to me, because I always think about that. You know, you've got these two couples, right? Couple friends, like stuff like that always happens, and like the dynamic between each of them is so different. I like try to think about like, oh, like
Someone's got to die.
a couple friends I've had, like there's like, it's always so interesting, because it's like couple friends are usually brought together by like some people who know each other, and then there's like, you know, you all
stragglers.
kind of develop a relationship, but there's always like, you know, two people who maybe don't know each other as much or as well. And so it's so interesting to see like the different crossing of those dynamics. And you got to really see that because Jeremy Allen White and Alison Brie, they went on the hike and they did whatever. Yeah. And it was so interesting. Yeah. Cause you have the two brothers that they're connected, and then, you know, they're partners in their company. And so it was really interesting to see all of that. And then that does raise the question, like, bad people, and I was like, did I not like the characters?
Bad people, I guess, like people who make mistakes. I mean, they weren't really bad; they just made dumb
Well,
decisions,
people that are
right?
easily unlikable, or that are easily to spot their faults and be like, yeah, you're right, this person deserved that at the end, because you're kind of like, did they deserve it, right, at the end? And you're like, kind of like not to sound terrible, but sometimes you're like glad when karma gets people. And you're kind of like, the energy you're putting out is what you're going to get back. And goodness gracious, it's fun sometimes.
I definitely related a lot to Michelle's character and Alison Brie. Not in like, oh, we should call the police. Like, I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't call the police, but I'm just saying more like the vacation side, where she's the one who's like very organized and planning, and then like it always happens, right? You can plan as much as you want on a vacation, and then you start doing this stuff, and it's like, all right, we need to maybe take a break and stuff. Yeah. And obviously there was kind of extenuating circumstances that she didn't know about, why other people didn't want to go on the hike. But
She got screwed.
Dude,
I felt so
exactly.
much for her.
No.
What crappy friends that did that to her.
100%. Where she's like, hey, I planned this like thing for us to go do tomorrow. It's a really cool hike. We're gonna do that. Like, if
She
you
bought
want
a freaking. She went ahead and bought like a water thing for it. Like specifically,
She
they
was so
all knew
excited.
this was the most exciting thing. She freaking provided the Molly, and they take advantage. They take her drugs. They get drunk and have a late night party without her. Promise they'll do it the next day with her, and then just ditch her for everything she wants to do.
her husband cheats on her.
Yeah, freaking she gets screwed in this.
Well, I think that moment is actually a bigger conversation around like that people can become casualties of bad decisions and bad experiences and bad times. Because this film was released during probably one of the most divided times in our nation a lot of times. And Dave Franco does reference that in one of the interviews, actually. He talks about, he's like, I think that this movie is also a representation of the time it was released, right? Because you can be, like, I always kind of relate this. It's really interesting. My parents used to say it all the time, like, and that, like, as I've gotten older, I kind of get it. But, like, you can be a part of a group, and if it's kind of like one rotten apple ruins the bunch, or kind of like this, the kind of the what's happening in the group affects you, even if you're just like, I'm the good innocent guy on the side, right? And she's like, I'm just as guilty as the rest of you. Like, kind of like she was letting things slide because she's like, we're on vacation, I want to have fun. And then she gets frustrated on day 2, like, you didn't go on the hike with me. I wanted to do this. We talked about this. Like, I made the plans, and she communicated it to them very effectively. Like, hey, this is what's going on. Mm-hmm. And they just ignored her. And then finally, like, when she's like done and over it, right? She's driving off and is over it because she finds out the truth about her husband, and his business partner just is over everything. And she's off. But then, like, her husband stops the car and says, hey, what's going on? She's like, I've seen everything. And then he's like, well, let's talk about this. But he's like, but first, where did you find the footage? Like, where did you find the information? And she's like, hey, but you're thinking about you still, and not about my experience, my situation. Yeah. So she's the casualty that comes with the problems on the side.
While you were saying that, I thought of something even more like that I connected to Alison Brie's character, where I like to feel a lot of times like I'm pretty organized and I like to do a lot of things a certain way, but I also like to have my times where I can have fun and let loose, right? Like, even though she's someone who plans a schedule and all this stuff, she's uptight, she's going to do Molly with them. She's, going to have their good times, going to do whatever, right? She's into that, but she's like, as weird as it sounds, she's like, we got to have planned fun time, like, I feel like that. I'm like, there's a lot of times where I'm like, okay, I have to do these things. So like, talking to myself, I'm like, Josh, if you can do this and this and this and this today, then tonight we can watch this or do that or whatever. Exactly. Yeah. And so I feel like that. And then Alison Brie also made me laugh during this movie a few times, like laugh out loud, that I just thought was hilarious. I can't remember a couple of the other times, but one of the times I actually wrote down as part of my Letterboxd review, where I wrote, when everything is going and crashing wrong around me, I'm just Alison Brie, high AF on Molly, looking up and saying, oh, they lost the dog.
Okay.
Because they're all freaking out, and she's just like there in the hot tub, like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
Sometimes it pays to be oblivious to everything else that's going on around you. Like, oh.
Dude, and she has every right to be like
100%. Just,
yeah.
This movie is incredible, and I feel like the acting was one of the things that definitely stood out in it.
It's kind of the thing that saved it for me.
Yeah.
If this was done by any lesser actors, it's so much of this, like we said, drama between these characters, that if there wasn't these good actors like performing it, it wouldn't have delivered as strong for me. A lot of these like horror movies can deliver subpar actors, even though it's kind of where a lot of really famous like people get their start, but you can kind of deliver subpar actors for some really good thrills and kills, right? Mm-hmm. But this one I felt like the first hour was so dependent on these four actors and their relationship with each other that if it wasn't these guys, if there's anybody lesser, then it wouldn't have delivered for me.
I agree with you. I think the value in this film, I don't know what you call it, this show, came from the people being able to convey emotions effectively, experiences. Because like, even when Alison Brie was just in the kitchen cooking, and in the background you saw some things where she's reacting to commentary, or she's like looking at things. And even the guy Corvo, sorry, I forget his name, whatever his name is in the show,
David, we'll just keep calling him by characters from other shows.
Like Corvo, he just kind of like, also like, he was good. I was very impressed. Didn't know he was British though, by the way, because of how well things were. And then I really actually liked, I don't want to butcher her name, Mina. I really liked the actress or
Shayla
actor
Vand,
who played Mina.
She did great.
She was great. And I really liked also how they kind of were able to, I didn't feel like, so this is a weird thing sometimes, right? When people try to prove a point, right? When she's talking about, I requested this and then was rejected, and you, a white man, did this. Like, I didn't feel like that was so in my face, like a message. It was kind of like it was very upfront, but it wasn't like an uncomfortable derailment, even though she had like the awkward moments and stuff like that with the guy.
Yeah, it was
like,
it almost felt brushed over a little bit. Like, usually with a horror movie, they kind of establish that kind of thing, and then it kind of plays some kind of deeper meaning into the horror of it all. But this was kind of just to establish that, no, this guy's kind of a crappy homeowner, and then it just kind of like brushed right through it.
Definitely felt like a very character building situation to understand both of those characters, where they're both kind of can be very, not, how do you say it? Like, sort of passive aggressive, but just more with being upfront about stuff. Like when they first got there, and she said, I don't remember what it was she said, where they both had that exchange where they were like, oh, like, I didn't mean nothing by it, like stuff like that, where they had that exchange where they both, like, they were looking at each other and they both knew what they were really saying while still just keeping the pleasantries. And then that moment later on where they had those, and it just very much to build the character, kind of have the movie set up like, hey, this guy is like a bad person. Is he going to be the one to kill them or whatever in this movie? Like, even though it wasn't him, just to kind of have one of those moments to understand who the characters were.
Yeah, I kind of liked how he's a bad dude, but there are worse dudes out there was kind of the thing. And I liked that kind of like, so here's big baddie and here's big baddie type thing, and I always like that. Like, it's kind of like going back to Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, where he goes, there's always a bigger fish.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're talking about here. But
I don't. It's a wisdom from Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yes. But do you guys have anything else you want to add to kind of the film as a whole?
Are your other laughable moments, was it Alison Brie's butt crack, dancing around the butt crack, or was that Roll Your Eyes?
What?
That was kind of
when she's high and
it wasn't
like, got the butt crack out. And
oh,
she's like,
yes.
I don't think I don't think I laughed out loud, but
That was
and
one
I
of
don't
the
think I
rough
rolled. I think it
moments.
was kind of in the middle. I probably chuckled a little bit because just her being like really crazy, like so much different from her usual character because she's like, all right, this is my time to let loose. Like I cannot be so uptight right now and stuff like that.
And
I'll have to try and remember.
Was the last laugh? I'm saying laugh out loud, but the last laugh out loud moment when they throw the rock and hit the dummy in the or the dead guy,
The guy's
the
body in the
obvious
head.
dummy in the
head.
head with the rock.
I'm like, oh, like missed it. No, I definitely was. So much of the movie I was worried about. Because I couldn't remember from the first time around. I was like, what happened to the dog? Like, do they ever explain it?
I was worried
and all
about that
this
dog,
stuff.
too.
But I mean, I'm still worried about that dog. Obviously, the guy, as part of his psychological thing, he took it and kept it away at least for a little while.
Oh yeah, did he end up taking it or leaving the dog at the
They
house?
don't say, because I think he probably took it, if I had to guess, because he was kind of trying to like befriend it, but the dog wasn't having it. The dog was like, I don't freaking know you, bro. Like,
Yeah.
so I think maybe he's like, oh, a companion. Like these people deserve it, and there's this dog that they're
We're
not
gonna
taking
train this
care of.
Frenchie to kill.
So the second movie is like the Frenchie Strikes Back or something like that. Pretty much like Frenchie's Vengeance, and it's
The French rental.
French rental.
So I pulled up this poster because when I logged in on Letterboxd, I tapped into the reviews, and their first like a bunch of reviews that I saw were like, this movie's okay, freaking awesome poster though. This movie's okay, freaking awesome poster though. So I was like, I wonder what the poster is, 'cause I hadn't seen it. So I pulled it up, and this is the poster, right?
Yeah.
What the heck does this have to do with anything in this movie?
So
Explain this to me. So I'll pop it up on the screen for this, but it's the house upside down with someone falling into the sky.
yeah, I have some thoughts on this. If you
How
like.
isn't the poster supposed to kind of like give you an idea of what this movie's going to be about? If I would have saw this, I'd been like, oh, this looks like a trippy like psychological thriller. He's falling into the ocean sky. I don't know what's going on.
Took the poster for Nope or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it seems like this. It seems like it's a cool poster, but it didn't deliver to me like what the movie actually is at all.
You're gonna rent an Airbnb. Your world's gonna turn upside down.
Yeah, literally. That's
What do those words say? Because mine doesn't have that.
the rental.
Secluded getaway, killer views.
Ooh. See,
Maybe just because it's on the cliffs by the ocean.
Maybe
That is a good question though, because the poster itself. I gasped. Sorry. The poster itself does look very cool, but
It
you are
does.
absolutely correct. Where after watching the movie, you're like, but what the?
Yeah, like,
what the heck is this about the movie?
it doesn't make me like look at it and be like, oh, I think I get an idea of what this movie's going to be.
What were you thinking, Casey?
oh well, I was just gonna say, I think it's just the shakeup of life. Like that's really what happens. Like your plans can be shaken.
You get sucked
Like
into
think
a,
about it like a snow globe.
It just
I don't know, man.
they turn the
Irritation
house
for me.
upside down, and
Instead of
oh,
little
it's crazy.
confetti snow, its little bodies falling into the water. I don't know though. I think that's a good question though.
I don't know, that's my nitpick of the movie. What is this poster?
Well, I actually think Allie and I talked about it because I think we thought it was alien abduction at first.
That's what it looks like. It
Yeah.
looks like it'd be like some kind of like a sci-fi thriller or something. But this is a very grounded horror drama.
I think
I just don't feel like that explains what it is. Anyway,
I think it's more like, I don't know, like when you talked about kind of the planning for your trip and stuff like that, like I think it's just off the rails. Like life is off the rails, going off the rails. But maybe
You
I'm
don't
wrong.
know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen, but I can't say.
If I had a nitpick, because obviously we kind of mentioned some things that I feel I didn't jive as much with the movie. If I had a nitpick for the movie, it would be when they're looking for the router and they get into that under part of the house and he finds those pictures or something. And she's like, what is that? And he's like, you don't want to know. And it doesn't show it. And then later on where you end up finding out that it's not this guy, what is this just, oh, the owner of the house has some weird, embarrassing secrets? Like it just felt,
yeah.
afterwards thinking back on it, I was like, why? Why do
Well-
we why do we do
Good question.
this?
That's a great question because I had same type of thing. I
Is
expected
that where the guy was squatting? Was down under there? Is that the killer?
Why would he have
stuff?
these
Well-
like printed out pictures that he's bringing?
I
with
think
him?
it's the guy from like the landlord. I think the guy who's like, oh, it's my brother's, right? Like I think he lives there when his like he's
The
not
brother's not
renting it, and
there.
the brother's not there, and that's where he hides his stuff. But like I kind of expected the same thing, but when in the ending kind of credits when the guy's copying and cloning the keys, I'm wondering how much he used that room to be like out of the way when people came in or whatever. But I don't know, because I was like, that would be like the perfect, like if you could build like a tunnel.
Did he know the code?
Possibly.
Maybe he put it
But
there.
on
Maybe
those
he
coded
installed
things,
the
you
code,
can put a
Possibly.
key.
It is like
in there.
under the
house.
And he did, a lot of high-tech stuff with the cameras, because obviously these Airbnbs he goes to, it shows later on, and that was one of the things that I actually ended up enjoying, was after you know that it's this other guy who's been watching them and whatnot, where the last scenes of the slasher part, instead of having regular camera, it cuts between the hidden cameras in the house. I thought that was very smart and a very interesting way to do it. So obviously he puts in more cameras, and almost no one ever sees them. I will say the one in the shower was like, how could you not see that one?
Yeah.
But besides that, it's all very hidden. And so it does seem like he kind of goes pretty high tech. So it's definitely possible that maybe he did put some of his stuff down there, and that's where he set up some of the things. And so it put in this lock so that they couldn't get in there, so he could operate from there. Who knows?
And I do love that premise. Like, I think I said earlier that I was frustrated because I was trying to solve who it was and didn't really get anything until after it all happened. But once it was revealed what was going on and who this guy was and what he was doing, I was like, it did feel satisfying to me.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, this is the Airbnb killer. I get it. Why does he look like Michael Myers from Halloween?
Well, I think it was rooted enough in reality that's kind of like a copycat like murder just in modern tech times. Because right, Michael Myers, what's he described as in all the shows, like The Shade or the Shadow or whatever it is they call it?
I just think he should have wore a different mask. I wasn't down with the old man Michael Myers looking mask. Like, it could have just been a guy with like tights or pantyhose on his head or whatever, and I would have been more.
But I don't think that would have the same effect, to be honest.
But that's my problem, is like, I don't need like a larger than life killer for this kind of movie, like a Halloween or a Jason or something. It's so grounded in this drama that I just need some guy that's.
He could have had a Michael Myers.
He could have not had a mask, or a ski mask.
I guess you can in real life, but
I'm meaning like a Michael Myers mask, as in like I'm thinking of Baby Drivers. You said get Michael Myers.
This is Michael Myers. I was thinking the same thing.
But
there's a lot of good things that go on with this movie, right? We've talked about a lot of stuff that we like, and we've definitely nitpicked a lot of the movie, but overall, it's a definitely an interesting, solid premise. It's mixing of genres with thriller, horror, drama, lots of different things going on. Solid acting, great direction. Did you say it was Dave Franco's directorial debut? Was it his first one?
Yep.
Very, very cool. Definitely a solid debut. Not like, it's no Get Out or anything like that, trying to break into a genre like that. But definitely a solid movie. And if I were talking about that graph earlier of what you needed to do, this movie is on Netflix right now. If you have Netflix and you're into this,
only until the beginning of October, so I'll watch it soon.
Okay.
When I pulled it up the other night, I saw that it's leaving. So
I saw that too.
But it'll pop up on one of the other streaming
It'll be on Prime or somewhere. This is a movie that's solid. If you're into the horror, spooky movie vibes, check it out. Definitely.
I agree. Go look at it. It's not the greatest movie ever made, but it's good.
It's definitely fun.
It's a fun watch. I'm glad that we talked a little bit more about it, and we could kind of dive into some of those things that when you just watch a movie and then you don't think about it again, you don't really think about. Like, I didn't think about, all the different people in the post-credit scenes and why he didn't go after all of them. It was. I'm glad that we delved into some of those topics. It was nice.
So, do you guys want a sequel from it?
No.
You don't want the Airbnb killer to become a new urban legend?
I mean, if there was another solid cast, I would take it. If there was like a solid, almost like White Lotus, right, where there's some like solid drama and stuff between the characters before all the big stuff goes down, I'd be down for a movie like that.
So here's how I feel about it. Ready for this? I think about Saw 1. That was so beautifully made. It was so perfectly made.
You never saw Saw?
I don't know why.
This happens to us so many times.
Okay, here's the thing. Saw, one of those times, like the Watch Mojo top 10 videos.
Yeah.
I watched a Watch Mojo top 10 videos about like some of the most, I think it was like brutal scenes or kills or something in Saw. And I wasn't young, but I was still fairly innocent-ish at the time. And I was like, I don't know, like this was just kind of like brutal. And the psychological aspect of Saw kind of got to me when I watched that video. And so I told myself I'll never watch Saw. But as I get into more spooky movies and as I've like not run out, because there's always more to watch, but as I've kind of like hit the threshold of like the big ones, like Saw keeps on coming up, and I'm like, am I gonna freaking do it?
Okay, so I 100% get everything you're saying. I am not a torture porn person. Do not judge the original Saw on what the Saw franchise became.
Yes.
Because the original Saw the point is not the kills. The point is the psychological. The point is more of the case. It's more of a detective story than a horror movie, and it's really, really.
So the
good.
original one is like
Saw
10 out of
1.
10, even if you don't keep on going with the rest of them.
I haven't
Saw
even seen
1.
any other ones. The original Saw is fantastic movie.
I might watch it tonight.
So
Who knows?
just
Yeah, dude,
please,
definitely do it.
please watch the original Saw. And here's why I'm saying this. Same thing Vince has said, but the original one set such a tone, and I have never forgotten it. But there is a scene, and you'll know it when it comes on, and then it's never left my mind. Like that moment when I first watched that movie, and I'm not gonna spoil it, I'm not gonna say about it, but it was like it's left me. I'm gonna tell Vince about it at the end, but like, watch it. But anyhow, I want them to only do one of the show, no sequels.
God, we
and
should actually do that one on the podcast. Like,
We
I would
should.
love to do Saw with
do you
want
want to
on
do
the
it? Do
podcast.
you want to do it Saturday?
I'd be down.
Okay,
You're here, right?
I'm here on Saturday.
I'll
We could
watch
do
it.
Chicanos and then.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
Talk
Done.
about Saw.
I have plans this Saturday, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, guys, and that's it for the Pause Rewind Play podcast this week. We were talking The Rental. We're gonna talk Saw next time now, but thank you so much, Vince and Josh, for humoring me with
Thanks
a great
for coming
show.
up.
What a great one. Thanks for having us, man.
And we'll catch you next time on the Pause Rewind Play podcast.